When I was getting started as a photographer, I used to sit around browsing eBay, looking at cameras I couldn't afford and thinking, man, I'm not where I want to be. And that must be because I'm not shooting 8x10 film like Alex Soth does. I used to be stuck in this awful cycle of trying different film labs or different scanners out to try to make my photos look more professional, whatever that means, and I'd post the same work to Instagram with different captions just to see if it would get more than 8 likes. Unfortunately, that's not how any of this works. Go figure. It doesn't matter if your camera is dusty old Facebook Marketplace spec or if it's the latest and greatest mirrorless camera out there. Sometimes it's gonna feel boring. That's usually when a lot of us will start looking at ways to solve this by buying a new camera or a new lens or other gear. But the problem isn't the camera, it's us. So here's 5 really important lessons that I wish I'd learned earlier in my photography journey that would have saved me a lot of time and money and made it much easier when it comes to keeping photography fun and exciting. Number 1 is the input-output cycle. When we take photos, we're creating stuff, right? And when you're being creative, you need to keep putting fuel into your creative juice machine to keep the ideas flowing. If you aren't consuming enough art in the first place, then you won't have anything to blend up into your own ideas. But even more than that, if all of the ingredients that you're putting in the creative juice machine are other photography, that's still not going to work. In fact, that's a really great way to never take any photos ever because you are constantly comparing your work to other people's and convince yourself that it's not worth trying. Or maybe that one's just me. The point is this: you really should think about absorbing art as an essential part of the process. Like sleeping or hydrating, it's part of the work. Watching movies, listening to music, reading good books, you know the drill. Go to an art museum. Now, that seems obvious, but it's also obvious that we're supposed to do some cardio every now and then and get off our phone a couple hours before bed, but I don't see you doing either of those. But you'll notice that's not where the cycle ends, right? You're not a machine that turns art into more art. There's another step. Some people won't agree with me, but I think art needs an audience, or more like the artist needs an audience. If you're making all of these photos and then they just end up living in a hard drive on your desk, it's not going to be very easy to motivate yourself to keep going out when you don't feel like it. Input, output, feedback. Not snarky Reddit composition feedback, but more just getting a reaction from an audience, no matter how small that audience is. Send your photos to your friends in a group chat, post them on Instagram, but ignore the likes. Make little zines every now and again and give them out, that sort of thing. I have a free zine that you can download, there's a link below. When you share your work like this, it really changes your approach to taking the photos in the first place because you're thinking about what you might do with the photos later on, and it becomes a little bit more like you're building up a body of work rather than just banger hunting. Reason number 2 that you're starting to find your camera a bit boring is, unfortunately, slightly my fault. If you think about it, probably 99% of the time that you see somebody using a camera that's different to yours, it's in videos just like this one. The tricky part here is that I, and just about every other creator on this website, am a professional at making cameras look cool and exciting. Please do subscribe to the channel. It's literally my job to make videos about cameras that you want to watch all the way to the end. And so it's pretty easy to make the mistake that whatever I'm using next week or whatever Peter McKinnon or Potato Jet are using is just a more exciting and inspiring piece of kit than whatever you've got. That's not the case at all. These videos take hundreds of hours of planning and scripting and writing and editing. I mean, look at Peter McKinnon. He'll go to a dirt bike track to take photos with the latest Canon camera. Dirt bikes would be exciting to shoot on an iPhone or a webcam, let alone anything good. I spent loads of money renting a set and bringing in crew for the Zeiss video. And yeah, that is a lens I really love and I use it all the time, but I don't know, if you look at the comparisons between that and probably the least exciting lens of all time, the Sigma 18-35, it's not that different. Plus, the bit that you don't see, and although I don't know Pete personally, I bet he goes through this too, is day after day going to shoot sample photos for gear videos that we end up hating and not using. The photography I share online is maybe the top 5 to 10% of all of the photos I take. And most days, I don't take anything good at all. In fact, a lot of the time, I don't even want to go and take photos. Which brings us nicely to point number 3. Everyone is wrong about inspiration. I think when we imagine the idea of inspiration, we imagine somebody waking up in the middle of the night and sitting bolt upright in bed with an idea from masterpiece, but that's not how it works at all. It's a little bit harder to see the process with photography, but if you look at music, a lot of artists will go into the studio and just mess about for the days or weeks before anything good happens at all. And that's because they understand that the inspiration only happens when you're already doing the thing. If you buy a new camera, you'll be excited to go and try it out to take new photos, so you'll leave the house and maybe after a few test shots, you'll get an idea, and then you'll take some good pictures, and then your life is ruined. That's like going to see the casino just to check it out for the first time and then instantly hitting a jackpot. The new camera didn't help you to take those pictures. It just helped you get out of the house in the first place. The taking bad photos first part is what led to the good ones. Here's the fun part. Did you know, hold on to your hat here, that you can just force yourself to leave the house anyway? With your boring old camera? We love to imagine artists as these geniuses that just have ideas laser beamed directly into their brains from the heavens, but the more I've become a professional maker of stuff, the more I've realized that creating art is 99% just doing the hard, boring work. You do have to be disciplined. You have to have a schedule. If you're a musician, noodling around on the guitar is fun, sure, but at some point, you have to get out a notebook and start making decisions. Sometimes, I think it's a bit like getting into a cold pool. You almost convince yourself that you don't really want to, actually, and it's really hard to get in, but once you jump in and you're in the cold pool, you don't want to get out. It's the same with inspiration. You have to get in the pool before you start swimming. Number 4 is that maybe you are boring. It's okay, it happens to the best of us. When's the last time you changed your process? If you keep doing the same thing over and over again and you're expecting change, I have bad news for you. Maybe you got to change it up, and that doesn't mean giving American Express a call to see if you're allowed to buy an Arri Alexa. That just means maybe you need to try shooting in a different area to where you're used to shooting. Maybe if you always shoot at f8 like me, you should try shooting wide open. Maybe try slow shutter speeds, or if you usually take photos of people, spend a day taking photos of pigeons. It doesn't matter if you drive a Ferrari F355 or a Nissan Primera with mismatched tires. If you're always driving the same route to get to the same grocery store every single day, it's not going to be that exciting. But take that same Nissan Primera to, a windy countryside B road, and you're going to have a really good time. Maybe do it with new tires though, actually. Personally, I've found that my mood and mindset have a much bigger impact on my photos than any gear possibly could. If I'm feeling energetic and fun, I take better photos. So yeah, introducing some novelty in a way other than buying stuff is a pretty good idea. Also, Red Bull helps. And finally, and this is an important one, boring might not be a bad thing. If your camera feels boring, it's probably predictable and it stays out of your way and you're used to it. My Nikon D750 feels boring sometimes because I've used it every day for the last 5 years. But because it's boring, I know exactly what it'll do. I can see the world through that camera without putting it up to my eye. For years in London, I shot street with this combo, the K1000 and a 28mm lens. To this day, I can still stand in the street and point to exactly where a 28mm frame line will go. That means that, yeah, with that setup, I never get surprises, but it also means that I never miss a shot with it. And if you think about it, should your camera be exciting? I mean, it's a tool. The hammer isn't exciting. The house it's building is. I had a look through my own Lightroom catalog, and I was pretty surprised. Almost 90% of all the digital photos I've ever taken were just the D750 and a 50mm lens. That's it, and I almost never change the settings on it either. It's almost always at f8, 500th of a second, and auto ISO. So, if you're getting bored, maybe, instead of trying different hammers out, you might need to build a different house. Now, if you're thinking, okay, smarty pants, but gear doesn't matter, where I live is really boring. No, it's not. It's still you. Watch this video next, and I'll show you all of my tips and tricks for taking banger photos in boring places. Stay hydrated and create art.